Good morning, everyone. Welcome to today's event, that is Blue Ocean, the Blue Ocean strategy. I hope everyone can hear me. Someone to confirm that?
Yes.
Very well, Patricia. Now, I wish to welcome our day's trainer, CHRPK, James Wanyama. James Wanyama is the Executive Director for Institute of Pensions Management. He was also at some point the Deputy Principal. Irene Kiveka, I can see you today. Thank you. Haya, now, asante. Now, yeah, James, you are hiding. I couldn't see you. Now, you are on. So, as I was saying, James was also the Deputy Principal at the College of Human Resource Management. I remember he trained me on leadership and corporate governance, which I passed, I guess, very well. That was one of the CHRP modules. So, as we move on, I'll be adding new people as they join us. It has taken some time because you, not everyone, of course, but most of us took their time before they could join today's webinar. Now, if you would wish to speak, you would unmute your mic. Then after you've done your contribution, you can mute yourself back again. Like Austin Mwangi, you can mute yourself so that any background noise will not permit to disrupt the class for everyone else. So having said that, allow me to, James, you've gone underground again. You are there? I can't hear you. Unmute yourself. Very good.
Right.
So James, you are there?
Yes, then I can hear you.
Very well. So I want to hand over the program to you.
Right.
Record the expectations from everyone for today's training, then set the pace. We shall end the training at 11:30. Welcome.
Thank you, Dan, and good morning, everyone, all our delegates. I want to, first of all, invite you to this first module of our Blue Ocean strategy, which will be running subsequently for the next 3 sessions. That is today, next weekend, and the following weekend. So normally, as a start, first of all, we need to hear who we are and what we expect from the training, ideally so that we align ourselves on the kind of objectives that we hope to achieve by the end of the training. So as we start, I believe Dan has introduced me, so I will not again belabor that to say who I am, but I'll just request 1 minute from each one of us, because I can see we are not so many, but the ones that are here, I will expect them to give us the expectations. Then the rest will join us as we progress with the conversation around the Blue Ocean strategy. So what I would request is we are here to learn from each other, and it's an open forum, meaning nobody has a monopoly of knowledge, as we normally say, but what matters is how do we enhance the conversation so that it works towards the benefit of each one of us in our respective capacities. So I'll just request you say your name, then you tell us your expectation. Then I'll be able to capture those expectations for today's training. Then at the end of it, we'll be able to see whether we've worked towards achieving any of those expectations. So I'll not decide who to start, but it's an open forum. So you just unmute yourself, then you tell us what your expectation is. Good, so I think we can start. Your expectations for this training. because I really need to know what is it that you expect from the training, so that together we are able to ensure that we align our discussions towards that.
And James,
Yes.
allow me to point out something that we can also utilize the chat module.
Section. Okay, yeah.
The chat module at the bottom. The trainer will read the comments as they come in.
Yeah.
So that we can utilize the full functionality of the
chat section. All right.
Thank you.
Thank you then for that input. Right. So Charles.
All right. Good morning. I hope you can hear me.
Yes, I can hear you.
All right. My expectation for me probably is just to understand the concept of blue ocean strategy with respect to HR.
The concept of blue ocean strategy
in relation to HR.
All right.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Hello, good morning.
Good morning, Patricia.
Yeah, my name is Patricia Kerets-Kemi. My objective is to learn the concept also, and how does it apply in HR?
All right, the application of the concept. I can see Brenda above also on the chat section. She says, understanding the blue ocean strategy in relation to HR. Good. The application of HR, HM Guza, can see that. Application of blue ocean strategy to HR. How it can be applied in HR from Cleophas. Thank you, Cleophas, for your sentence there or statement. Yeah, there's Cleophas, there is Pauline, how to apply it in HR and how to be more competitive in the industry. So you're looking at competitiveness. That's great. That's from Pauline Kinyita. Okay, from Grace says, understand the strategy and how I can turn around my business or my organization and myself. So you're looking at turning around the fortunes or yourself. Okay, how it applies to OD. Thank you, that's from Judy. Boniface, how it applies to HR. Then we have, would like to understand the difference between red ocean and blue ocean. That's Janet. Business case for BO in current HR dispensation. Okay. That's from Oscar. Business case for BO in current HR dispensation. Great. Right, keep them coming. Keep the Charity Wangari says, I'm looking forward to learning the integration of blue ocean strategy to the overall HR strategy. Thank you, Charity. Integration of BO to HR. Lovely, lovely, lovely. Teresia, understand the concept and how to apply in HR. Thank you, Teresia. Then we have, that is Teresia. We have Pauline. I think Pauline has captured her expectation. Austin. Okay, my name is Carol Mwangi, and Austin, mine is to understand the new strategy. Okay, that's from Caroline, understanding new strategy and how it applies to HR. Great. Thank you, Caroline, for that expectation. Who else is there? All right. I think this summarizes our expectation, because I can see we are all inclined towards understanding what this concept is all about, and more importantly, how it is integrated with our main role, which is HR. And just to pick it from the last modules, so the last discussions that we've had, in the last modules, I think the focus was more on HR business partnering. And from that discussion, you find that the blue ocean strategy advances that concept of the strategic role of HR and how you can play a role in terms of enhancing the strategic growth of the business. So in this case, blue ocean strategy tends to take more of a marketing strategy or a marketing concept or a differentiation concept that distinguishes one from the rest. But what we do is all these expectations, I believe there are some that we'll achieve today, others will achieve at the end of the third module. So I'll also request for each one of us to be patient so that we don't expect to achieve all of them today, because the module is classified into 3. So there are things that we'll handle subsequently in the next module and the final module, whereby at the end of it, it is my belief that we'll have achieved all these expectations that we've outlined. Good. So understanding the implementation of the strategy, that's from Catherine. Understanding the situation, that's Jackie. Better understanding of BOS. Good. I think basically all these sentiments are hinging on how BO is applicable in HR, and more importantly, how it is strategically placed to ensure we achieve that. So maybe as just as a bit of an introduction, I'll be taking you through a case of an individual called Flynn, and we look at how does he encompass a situation of coming up with an idea, and whether his idea, just like the way all of us have business ideas, but the challenge comes in when we ask ourselves, are these ideas going to be converted? Are we able to translate our ideas into reality? In other words, we are looking at the innovation, so that we do not end up being like, in innovation, we have the concept of the caterpillar. That your idea could be that you want to transform the caterpillar into a butterfly. But whatever you do during that process of transforming this caterpillar is what matters most, because you may end up having a very fast-moving caterpillar instead of having a butterfly, which initially you intended to achieve. And that's usually the tough question that we ask ourselves as strategic partners. Are we able to ensure that we don't end up with a very fast-moving caterpillar instead of having a butterfly? So in normal setup, we may have our own strategies, or we may have our own thought processes that we believe will enable us to move to the next level as a business or also as individuals. But that success will not come from the fighting that we have with competition, for instance, but rather it will depend on how we create a niche, how we create demand for a particular service or a product, which will now make us to stand out of the competition. Meaning you are creating a new market segment, which is not essentially being utilized, or it's not contested at all at the moment. So as we do that, allow me now to start sharing my screen, just to give it that kind of understanding. I believe we are able to see my screen. So we're looking at the first module, and from your expectations, the first module we target to understand what is this BO, the BO strategy, what it is. We'll also look at who are the proponents, who came up with this idea, and what was the motive behind them coming up with this idea, and to what extent has it enabled businesses to drive themselves into new market developments. Then also we'll be able to understand what is a business universe and the distinction between the blue ocean and also the red ocean. And also in our conversation, we'll also look at the importance of the blue ocean markets. What significance does it have to this blue ocean strategy in terms of the markets? Then at the end, we'll be able to summarize by looking at what are the key terms that relate to the blue ocean strategy. So allow me now to take you through this brief case study about, and this flying is typically an example of who we are and what we do. So just like any other person, Flying Gordon wants to start a business of his own. And also this is owed to the kind of experience he has. And you find that he has a lot of experience in sales and marketing of electronics and the consumer goods. So, but he's not very sure what business to start. So it's just a typical example of most of us, whereby we have so many huge ideas of businesses that we want to run, but we ask ourselves, which business do I go for? So there's that aspect of hesitation. Do I start this business? Do I look at the market? Do I ask the competition? Do I do benchmarking? All those questions will actually crop up in the midst of our decision making. So Flying also now looks at, he wants to venture into electronics owing to the fact that he has that experience, but he knows there's a lot of competition from the existing players. And this resonates well with ideally what we do. So you want to, today you wake up and say, I want to start an electronics shop. I want to sell electronics. I want to sell attires. But then your other question is, the competition is very stiff. Where do I go from this? How do I compete with this market? So the same ideology is advanced when he thinks about how crowded this market is. But his doubt is actually on how will I succeed? How am I going to navigate? Just like when you're going to war, or in relation to war, how do we deal with situations of that enemy that is coming for us? So in this case, you look at the enemy being your competitors. How are we going to outsmart your competitors? And as the saying goes, that in competition, sometimes you need to appear weak when you are strong. And at the same time, you need to appear strong when you are weak. The reason why we do that is so that we demystify ourselves from the understanding of how the competitor will be analyzing us. So we try to create an amorphous kind of image which cannot be determined, which cannot be defined, so that the competition does not come to outsmart ourselves. So Flying is facing the same dilemma. So he wants to beat the competition, but also he wants to know, how do I occupy, or how do I come up with a way in which I can meet the existing demand? So he's in that fix. And there are so many questions that he's trying to ask himself. And one of the questions he's having is, what business idea or strategy should I use to ensure I succeed? That's one of the questions that is bedeviling him. Then he also asked himself, how do I make this competition relevant to his business success? I think that was a typological error. Then how can he create and capture the new demand? So look at this period of the pandemic. I know most people have been thinking, and there's one time I was having a conversation with some professionals, and we're asking ourselves, during this pandemic, is it the time that people need to think on how best they can come up with creative ideas? Is it the time that you can come up with a business? Is it the time that you realize that employment alone is not sufficient? Because this is the time now you can be able to know that unemployment, your role is very, very minimal. Because the employer, once the employer is faced with challenges, then they'll automatically wake up and say, we are not able to sustain this because of the ungodly act or the or the act of God, which has affected us as a business. So the question here is, how do I create demand, or how do I create new demand? And that's what Flynn is grappling with. Along the way, he meets his ex-boss and a longtime friend, Mark Yedley, but he's the one that comes into his rescue. What does Mark tell Flynn? He tells him that in order to succeed in business, you should create a unique and uncontested market space just for itself. So it means he's telling him, don't look at what others are doing. Don't venture into a business that's already in place, but look at something that will make you unique, something that will make your business or your service to be unique, something that will differentiate itself, something that will position you as a new market, right? So that's what now the ex-boss tells Flynn. So what does that imply? It implies that Flynn has to look at a business that can easily succeed by looking at the concept that has not been utilized. At times people ask, I may want to venture into the same market because maybe I don't have a new concept, but then how will I outsmart my competitor? And it's very simple. Sometimes you need to ask yourself, do I do the same things as others are doing, or I must do something different from the rest? And normally from case studies and from history, it is known that the success of what you do depends not on the 90%, but only on the 10% that others are not doing. Meaning, your focus should essentially be on what is it that my competitor is not doing. What is it that my company is doing that we can come up with something new? What sort of innovation can we come up with? And that's what will be able to distinguish us from the competition. So having looked at this, then you find that Mark advises Flynn that he needs now to understand what a blue ocean strategy is for the business. And this is what forms our basis of our conversation in our module today and also subsequently. So what is this blue ocean strategy that we need to look at for our business, for our departments, and even just for us as individuals? Hence, he's being told that he needs to come up with a business idea that will create what we call new and uncontested market space for the business. Now, what is this uncontested? Uncontested in layman's language is basically a market that is not saturated, a market that is more of a niche. I believe for those who have looked at Porter's generic strategies and 5 forces, you understand what we mean by a niche market. So we're looking at a market that is, we may perceive it to be small, but ideally it's a very lucrative market segment, a segment that you can charge premium prices, or a segment that your clients will be satisfied and they can be able to pay premium for the kind of product or service that you have. Take a good example of even today when I ask you, how many people do you think buy expensive cars? Let's say the automobiles that are very expensive. You may find that there are very few compared to the ones that buy the normal automobiles. If you're selling, for example, you're the manufacturer of motorcycles, you may sell millions of units of motorcycles. But one manufacturer of Chrysler, for example, could just be selling 2 units. But whenever they sell the 2 units, their competition, you cannot match their competition. You cannot match their returns. You cannot match their bottom line. Just because they have been able to have or to create or to carve a kind of niche that they're now able to manipulate within their space. And that's essentially what we need to look at. And that's what we call uncontested market space. A market space that has not been utilized, or a market space that is very distinct. And it's like you're the one rolling out that market. You are the one making people to understand that this market exists. All right. Now, look at, maybe just as a preemption, look at why supermarket chains are not competing effectively. What do you think could be the reason behind that? Can we attribute it to any blue ocean concept? Can we say it's about mismanagement? Can we say about lack of receptiveness from the market? Or what questions do you think we're asking ourselves? Because ideally, you find that it hinges basically on the inability of the supermarket to be innovative. How many of us nowadays can go to the supermarket in town and buy bulk items? How many of us visit the supermarkets to just window shop? Nowadays, technology has enabled us, it's very easy for us to shop online. So you can check all the items online. There are so many online service providers, and that's what is challenging now the supermarkets. But you find that the challenge for them is they have stuck to that kind of line, and they don't want to think, as we say, the cliche, that you need to think outside the box. So your inability to think outside the box is what makes you to remain static as a business, or what will make you to remain static as an individual. So that's the question that this guy needs to ask himself. How do I go about it? So similarly, as we think on that line of what Flynn is trying now to rethink based on the advice from Mark, then he actually is thinking about how this blue ocean strategy will help him to run the business. So as I've mentioned, it will enable him to come up with that new market. He will create a market for himself. And through creating that market for himself, he will actually create the demand from the consumers. In other words, you're creating a new service or a new market whereby people are looking at the product and wondering, where did this come from? So initially they'll be skeptical about it, but you find that with time, they tend to understand how convenient it will be. They're able to understand how effective it will serve them, and also what kind of value will it provide to them. And we can link that clearly to a number of examples. We'll be looking at those examples as we progress, just to be able to zero in to how these concepts are able to resonate with what we do in our day-to-day activities. Now, the other bit that Flynn will be looking at is to making the competition irrelevant or have no effect on the business success. Now, how do we understand this, or how do we comprehend this concept? I read it in a book by Sun Tzu. Sun Tzu is one of those writers who talks about when you're going to war, how do you deal with the situation? And he says that the supreme act, or the supreme act of war, is to subdue the enemy without fighting. So it's like you just make sure that the enemy does not fight you, but you've actually outwitted them. And at times we say that the measure of a leader is not about how many wars or how many fights, how many fires is able to put down or to put off, but on his or her ability to ensure that there are no fires, there are no fights coming up. And today I will challenge you as HR professionals that in your own setup, are you that person who is always fighting fires? So when we come to your office or in your meetings, you're always fighting fires and cooling down tempers and all that. Or you are this professional who has minimal fires to fight, and therefore you are focused more on the right strategy. You are focused more on decision making that will impact on the business and also on the department. So that's the question that we need to ask ourselves. Even as individuals, Are you that person that every time you're dealing with issues because of maybe your poor time management? Is it because of your poor projection? Is it because you are not able to outline your plan so that things are happening and you feel like you're just overtaken by events? That's the question that we ought to ask ourselves, that in this concept then, what is it that we need to do? Are we able to make competition irrelevant? Are you that person that when people apply for leave, the leaves are actually approved last minute? Are you that person that will not even have clear documentation of that, so that when somebody exits, that's when you start running up and down and asking, there's this documentation that we don't have, how do we deal with this situation? That's the essence of us creating an environment whereby we have minimal fires to fight, instead of having to fight fires. Because we'll not say that since you've been able to deal with so many complaints, that's a measure of success. But at times we tend to deviate from the main purpose of success or our performance, so that let's not think about the more questions we deal with, the more we have been very effective. At times it is an issue of inefficiency, or it's an issue of lack of proactivity, or it's an issue of having lopsided strategy, a strategy that does not align with what we purpose to achieve. So in other words, we need to ensure that we create that demand rather than fight the issues that come along. So we need to create that instead of fighting the issues that affect us. Then another important thing, we're saying that you need to help target non-customers. Now the question is, or what I know most of us are going through is, if you're talking about non-customers, then where do I get them from? Okay, where do I get them from? And maybe I'll ask a question, or I just want to ask you, and maybe you can use the chat section. How many of us initially, let's say the issue of the taxi use or using the cabs, how long did it take for us now to accept the online taxi usage when Uber came into the market? Initially, people are very skeptical because they will say they don't have the smartphones, they cannot be able to book online and all that. But do you think, has that challenge been overtaken by events? Has it now made us to be online, so that you find that nowadays people feel that using the online cabs is more efficient? We had lost connectivity. I can't hear. So we have who? Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can.
Okay.
Yeah, we can.
Okay, thank you. Sorry for that disruption. I think it was attributed to the shift to, is it on the live stream, I think. Good. Yeah. So I was talking about the issue of Uber. And I wanted to know, how has been the feeling from the time Uber was launched in Kenya? The feeling at that moment was not very receptive. And you could see even the normal taxi cabs went even on strike. They demonstrated and said, we cannot compete with this. These are foreign business. How can it come and take over our market? But you see, what these guys in Kenya did not look at is, if these guys are coming up with an online platform, why don't we also have an online platform? Okay, and that's the essence of what it is. So I think I can hear there is Catherine says, now that business is very efficient, cheap, and convenient. Very convenient from Mary Ann. There is there's a question here saying, how does it apply in public service? Okay, I think we'll be able to handle that subsequently. Then we have very convenient from Mary Ann. Okay. Well, yeah. So that's the idea that I wanted first of all for us to get to understand what it is. So Uber business created a niche, and they knew that in Kenya there's no market that exists that uses online bookings. So they said, if we do that and we target, you can see they started by targeting Nairobi. Then they went to Mombasa and major cities. The reason behind that is that they could not roll it out in Kenya throughout, because they had taken cognizance of the fact that the Kenyan market is not the same. But in terms of IT infrastructure, there's a lot of difference in the accessibility of the IT infrastructure. So what did they do? They said, let's look at cities that have internet connectivity. And also they're looking at the kind of people that are in those cities. And that's the essence of having to analyze the market, so that you know that if I do this, then I'll create demand. And I think a similar concept is applicable in the online purchase or the online buying, because globally it was, people are just looking at eBay and saying eBay is in UK, and therefore how do we purchase from items from UK? But locally now we have so many online businesses. Even individuals have gone online. People have just said, I think online is the way to go. But that's a concept that people were very not clear about initially, because there are also those fears that there will be security issues, or there'll be cases of cyber bullying and all that, or you risk losing. Though also we cannot rule out the fact that we've had online businesses that have duped clients. Okay, you can see Patricia is saying, could M-Pesa business be a blue ocean strategy? I think from the discussion that we've had already, I think it's a blue ocean strategy, because look at it from this perspective. When M-Pesa was introduced in Kenya, and now it has spanned across African countries, people today know about M-Pesa. You may have an Airtel line, but that Airtel money does not resonate very well, unlike the use of M-Pesa, because now M-Pesa positioned itself in our minds. And every time we think about transfer of money, what comes in your mind? M-Pesa. I'll M-Pesa you. I've not received your M-Pesa. Even somebody who has an Airtel money line will still use the Safaricom line, because of that positioning that M-Pesa had in the minds of the people. In fact, I want to delve into that discussion, because the M-Pesa concept, ideally, was by that time, the person who had that idea was by then working in Kensel. That was Kensel then. You know, Kensel, it has gone through so many transformation until now we are looking at Airtel. So the transition between Kensel up to now is informed by the fact that we had that idea that was this person had. By then he was working at Kensel. But since Safaricom did a market intelligence, and this is where we say the market intelligence is very key. At times, you need to look at what the steps of your your opponent is going to make. Observe those steps, and then you run up very fast and actually combat that. So what Safaricom did is that they had to bring on board that guy with that concept, because they knew Airtel by then Kcell was going to launch that money transfer component. So what they did is they took that idea, they talked to this guy, they had to hire him immediately and launch the product earlier than what Kcell had anticipated to do. And what do we call that? What do you call that? Because I've heard people saying that, you know, that was my idea. I had this idea, then somebody took it and started the business. I shared with them and all that. So who do you blame in that situation? You had the idea, discussed with them, but it took you time to actualize that idea. So whom do you blame? Whom do you blame? Let's utilize the chat section. Whom do you blame in that kind of concept? Because we just want to see how it resonates with the Kcell versus Safaricom. Mary Mugwire says to blame Kcell management. Charles says we blame Kcell management. Good. Who else? Somebody here said, where is that comment from? Seek better understanding. Marianne says even then requires us to pay for webinars through M-Pesa. Okay, I think that is the concept we were saying, that people are so inclined, positioned in their minds, just thinks about M-Pesa. Yes, Kcell called it Socoton and the name let them down and insider trading. Okay, good feedback. Who else do you think, in that case, who do you blame? And in our own cases as individuals, have we had situations where we had these bright ideas of a business, but we've ended up just dreaming about them? While other people that we discussed with, they went and implemented those ideas. Have we had those kind of situations? Maybe you had an idea you shared with Dan, then before you implement it, Dan is already up there with the idea and he's launched it. Have you had such kind of situations? You can use the chat section. Any idea? Have you ever thought of or discussed an idea that you intend to do, but suddenly the person, the competitor that you discuss with takes up that idea and implements it? Then you end up complaining and lamenting and saying, oh, this person just took up my idea and here he is. Have we found ourselves in that situation? Somebody says, Catherine says, top management ignorance, idea that theft is very Kenyan. Time you're not taking HR people seriously in looking at ideas from low key. Yes, Jane Wanjohi says, yes, more than once. I think her ideas have been taken over by the rival or person or somebody else that they have discussed the idea with, and they took up and started it. So in that case, then, Jen, who do you blame? Do you blame yourself? Do you blame the person that took up your idea? Who do you think you need to blame in that situation? So as we wait for the response from Jen, maybe there's another example I may need to talk about when it comes to this competition. Yeah, she says blame the self-blame. Yes, self-blame, that's from Hortense. There is Catherine says, you blame yourself. Slow decision-making on implementing new idea, that's from Vendetta. Thank you, Vendetta, for that. I have blamed them, but actually it has stopped me from sharing my ideas with people. That's Jen. Jen has now opened up and said, I have blamed them, but actually stopped sharing ideas. I now implement my ideas. So that's, yes, when you share brilliant ideas with your boss and then they take it up with the intention of shining. Oh. The boss decides to take up the idea and shines at the expense of you. Okay. Now, perhaps I may want to have a delve into this. You blame yourself for revealing the information before you are ready. That's from Liz. Liz Lubia says, you blame yourself for revealing the information before you're ready. It's like letting the cat out of the dog. So you discuss on something, you give the idea that you want to do. Then you're telling people, this is what I intend to do. This is what I'm going to do in the next 1 month. So you do that, you create that anxiety. People feel that you are actually on the top of things. But within that period of time, you again procrastinate about that same idea and you end up not actualizing it. So in that case, then it limits your achievement. And that one we associated with talking about looking busy. You know, it's like we should not look at progress. Let's not confuse progress with movement. You may appear very busy, like you sometimes you say busy bodies. So you appear very busy, you're doing this, you're working on this idea, you have so many brilliant ideas, you are sharing them. But the question is, are you progressing towards the achievement? And what mostly is the problem with us or with human beings is that we tend to focus on so many things. At the end of it, we don't come up with clear goals and objectives before for us now to implement. So more so, it's like we are playing that what we call the hot air. You know, we are people who threaten others. You want to intimidate other people because of your ideas that you want to do. But eventually you end up actually the one crying because the ideas that you thought or the ideas that you've shared with others has actually transformed them into different entities. But you end up being that person who shares the ideas, but you don't achieve that. That's what makes, comment from Catherine says, that's what makes SMEs collapse, because thriving needs the vision and visionary on board and give it life, as the download was to them. Yeah, that's a very good comment from Catherine. So in other words, she's saying that that aspect is what makes SMEs to collapse, because they lack the vision and the visionary on board to give it life. And I think that now brings in the issue of leadership. Do we have the right minds at the top to drive the business? If you are the CEO, if you want to be the entrepreneur, are you having the right vision? And are you having the right team to win that? Are you having the right courage? Are you that flock of sheep that is led by the lion, or you are that herd of lions that are led by the sheep? If I may pick it from Miles Monroe, who said that an army that is led by an army of sheep led by a lion compared to an army of lions led by the sheep, who do you think will win between those two armies? An army of sheep led by the lion, and an army of lions led by sheep. So the leader of the lions is the sheep. On this other case, the leader of the sheep is the lion. Who do you think will make the army, or which army do you think will succeed? Mary Mugwira says, army of sheep led by the lion will win. Army led by the lion. Okay, why do you think the army led by the lion, an army of sheep led by the lion, and not vice versa? Why do you think is the army led by the lion and not, you know, we have so many lions. Look at how we perceive lions. How do you perceive a lion? Even in the animal kingdom, if you look at the lion, the perception of a lion is this aggressive, bold, is not very huge, it's not big, but you find that the command that it has is unwavering. The lion leader has a kingship, that's Catherine. Rolin says the lion will protect the sheep in times of danger. Okay, thank you. Why do you think, keep those charts coming, why do you think the army of sheep led by the lion will succeed? An army of sheep led by the lion, because a leader influences his team. Thus, when the leader is strong, thus the team will be strong. Thank you, Beth. Good, good, good. Any other sentiments? Lion is confident, daring, strength. Goals for the, that's a comment from who? Lion is confident because the leader is, sheep are obedient and follow together, but on their own, they need leadership to move. All right. That's from Catherine. The lion exhibits bravery traits. So we have that bravery. So you're looking at people who will take up, we say that you take the bull by its horns. You take the decision and stand by it. A lion is strategic and courageous, while sheep leader is meek and cowardly. That's from Pauline. Good. They say a team is as strong as its leader, which the lion depicts. Good. Vendetta. Lucille says knowledge of the jungle will make the team win. Good. Then SG says the leader determines the pace, attitude, confidence level, and the strategy to attack. So the lion will pass this to the sheep. Good. I think I like that. The attitude, the pace, and the confidence. So what is coming out there is that army led by the lion. Even if you are that sheep, you are meek and that fear and you lack the confidence, but with having the lion ahead of you, it automatically gives you the strength. It's like you feel you have protection, you feel you have the right person ahead of you, and you feel that you are not going to be affected negatively. That's the essence of that. So the leader determines the pace, attitude, and confidence level and the strategy to attack. So the lion will pass this to the sheep. Now, we as individuals, do we perceive ourselves as sheep or lions? That's a question that you need to ask yourself. When you are making those decisions, are you that lion or you are that sheep? And do you need, in terms of progress, then do you need a lion to make you develop the courage? That's where now we as HR professionals, you may have a team that is not, or you have individuals who are a bit withdrawn. They don't look, sometimes we tend to confuse people that are very social compared to those who are not social to be maybe people who are not able to work. Cleophas says, could the sheep attract more problems to the lion that he may not handle, whereas the lions led by the sheep may make work easier for the sheep? By K. That's a question from Cleophas. Would the sheep attract more problems to the lion that he may not handle, whereas the lions led by the sheep may make work easier for the sheep? I think, yeah, Cleophas is trying now to bring in the other side of the discussion, the conversation, whereby he's saying, now, if you look at the team, the makeup of the team, if you have the makeup of the team being lions, I think that's what he says, that could the lions attract more problems to the sheep, attract more problems to the lion that he may not handle, whereas the lions, led by the sheep, may make work easier for the sheep. So in other words, according to him, he's looking at now the composition of the team or the army. If you have an army that is very determined. An army, now in this case, the army of lions, but they're led by the sheep. So to them, they're very determined. They're also brave and all that. So according to him, he's saying, can this sheep bring more problems to the lion so that the lion is likely maybe to deviate? But I think that's a conversation that Cleophas can be able to advance in terms of what his line of thought is. In a political setting, can be doomed to be sheep. That's from Catherine. Then from Charles, thank you, Charles. You say a team is as strong as its weakest link. So this team full of sheep is really weak, is really a weak team. Charles says the team is as strong as its weakest link. So this team full of sheep is really a weak team. That's a comment from Charles. So according to Charles, this team is weak based on the link that we have. So meaning, if you have a team that is weak, we have people that are very weak, then that means, according to him, the team full of sheep is really a weak team. So perhaps maybe, Charles, you can just clarify, when it comes to the weakest link of a team, does it mean that when you have people that are not, in this case, we link sheep to individuals, does it say that now having sheep in your team will automatically make you to lose out? Or is there any other way that you can be able to create or bring out the best out of this sheep? That's a point for discussion. Strong leader leading an all-weak team may drain the leader's energy. There needs to be a mix. That's from Mary Ann. Thank you, Mary Ann. Then Catherine says, sheep mentality is what CEOs expect of HRs, and when they dare to line themselves, they are dismissed. Ideally, an army of lions led by a sheep is what exists in the work settings, an ideal survival strategy. Wow, that's Catherine. I think Catherine highlights exactly what is happening in most organizations, where she says that sheep mentality is what CEOs expect of HRs. And when they dare to line themselves, they are dismissed. Ideally, an army of lions led by the sheep is what exists in the work settings, an ideal survival strategy. Now, this poses a question, and I would want us to have a conversation around this. When you have people that are more competent, compared to when you have people that are incompetent, you as a leader, what will be your preference? Will you prefer people that will challenge your ideas, or do you want people who will say, yes, yes, as you say, I concur, I reiterate? You know, at times you go in the meeting and you wonder, there are people who always say they reiterate, they concur, they agree, and they have nothing to say, just as somebody has said. Do you have such situations, and how do you perceive ourselves? Are we the yes, I concur, or we are those people who will challenge the status or give voice our contrary opinions? Or we feel, if we raise the contrary opinion, my boss will look at me and say, I think you are becoming a burden, you're becoming a worrisome person in the team. How do we look at that? How do we view ourselves in that line? SG says, the leader makes the decision, keeps the team together, and goes extra mile to ensure that team achieves. So line being a leader will surely win versus sheep leadership. Hortense says people who will change ideas, who will challenge ideas. Okay, people who will challenge ideas. So I think that's in response to what I've said. Do you think you will need to work with people who will challenge ideas, or you work with people who are the yes men or women? Challenges are healthy and keep the leader on the toes. Good, that's from Mary Mugwira. Challenges are healthy and to keep the leader on the toes. Great. Guys, who do you prefer? Will you prefer a team that has people who are very withdrawn, they're just docile, or do you want people who will tell you, oh, look here, I don't agree with your idea, I think we have this better idea, then you take it up? Because also the other aspect is, are you able to be receptive to these divergent views? Or that person who feels offended when, or offensive when such ideas are brought to fore? Human nature draws sycophancy. That's from Catherine. Catherine, human nature draws sycophancy. Grace says, work with those who challenge the ideas and give alternatives. Winnie says, people who challenge ideas, they are likely to be proactive. Good. Peter says, that's Jackie. I prefer people who will challenge my idea because this will enable me to improve the idea. Great. Clover says, I prefer people who will make me succeed, which involves people who can share new as well as good. Then James says, diversity is key. You need different ideas. Mary says, people who challenge the ideas are better because you can discuss and take up the best idea forward. Great. The ship will not offer divergent views. They will only follow. So they're likely to follow the boss, or they'll follow your ideas even if you are leading them to the grave. For them, they'll just say, wherever you take me, I'll be with you. In fact, that reminds me one of the statements from the political space. And I think this is a common one, where you hear people saying, a whole member of parliament or a whole governor or a senator standing and saying, wherever my party leader tells me to go, I'll actually go. That's now the sycophancy that we are talking about. So that we have these people who say, for them, it's about where the boss says. If he says we are going to the grave, they'll all go. If he says we are not going to do this, they'll actually not do that. Akisema left, tunaenda left. Akisema right, tunaenda right. Charles Mutua, thank you for that observation. Yes, men are preferred, and it takes the need to grow to bring it to space. Then people who are challenging more often create a conducive environment for innovation. Good, that's Lucy. Then we have Mary saying the ship can be developed with the time. However, having a lion leader is great. Thank you very much, Mary. Thank you very much for that. So I like the conversation because now we are able to understand where this concept is coming from. So you look at creating a niche, making people to believe in what you think. The ship can be developed by time. Then we have Horton says, yeah, that's what is happening on the ground. You just follow to secure your living, but it's a bad habit. Good, thank you for that cognition. Taking cognizance of the fact that at times you may not agree with the idea, but your mind is clear about what you believe in. Okay, and that's, I think he's talking about the security aspect, where you follow the leader just because you want to be secure. Challenges are healthy. They make us remain afloat and relevant. That's from Mary Ann. Thank you, Mary Ann. Challenges are very healthy. Even when the line goes for a while, we bring in the Judas Iscariots of Baba when you are away. That's from Catherine. When the line goes away, then we bring those concepts where people will start saying what happened when you are not around, and what has been happening when the boss goes away. That's the concept of understanding the leader vis-a-vis the team that you're leading. Great. Now, Judas Iscariot and Baba, when you are away, thank you. So I think we can progress with my slide. Sheep cannot push a leader to be a lion, but the lions can transform the sheep into a leader. That's from Charles. Good, I think, yeah, sheep can push the leader to be a lion. Sheep cannot push the leader to be a lion, but lions can transform the sheep into a leader. And I think we have so many examples. Maybe there are people that got into the positions. You may have been promoted to a position where initially you thought you are not very, very set for it. But because of the kind of people that you are leading, then you have to change your game plan. You have to improve. Otherwise, if you don't improve, then you lose out on that. So that could be another aspect. I'm going to share my screen. Good, so that's where we were. So allow me to progress a little bit. So from that discussion, then we can discern that in order to succeed in any business, we need to try to adopt a strategy as the Blue Ocean strategy, so that we rid ourselves of the competition and create a new free market for ourselves. So then the question is, what is this blue ocean strategy? And just to give it a summarized definition is that it's about winning without fighting. You just win, you don't have to fight. And how do you win without fighting? Is actually by being strategic. So you ensure that whatever actions you do, you're actually sheep cannot push, and then a team of sheep led by the lion will win. Sheep can influence lions to hide unless the sheep has delegation spirit. Okay, that's from Susan. Thank you, Susan. All right, so keep the comments coming. So what I'm saying is blue ocean strategy is about winning without fighting. So when I have an opinion, when I have a divergent view, I don't have to fight you, I don't have to abuse you, but I just need to ensure that I create an environment that does not bring about any confrontation. And that's now why I have this quote from Sun Tzu in The Art of War, who says, "To fight and conquer in all your battles is not supreme to excellence. Supreme excellence consists in breaking the enemy's resistance without fighting." So you don't have to fight, you don't have to appear that you're fighting. But what you need to do is you deal with what we call not coercive. We are looking at the subtle way of managing your enemy. How long have you had people who are so antagonistic to the idea, but within a short time, you find that they have actually told the line without coercion, and are now supporting that idea? And then how do we attribute that to which strategy? Who apply that strategy to ensure that this antagonistic person is now part of the position of the institution, or is part of the position of the department? So that draws you to the concept of then, how do we navigate that? How did we go into bringing on board people who are seen to be on the other side, people who are seen to be opposing us, and now they're part of the team? So applying that is where now you ensure that you bring in people and you tend now to cool the tides. Just like when you're in the ocean and the tides are very heavy and turbulent and all that. So how do you cool that kind of turbulence? So you need to ensure that you break the enemy's resistance without fighting. And sometimes people use very crude ideas whereby, and maybe in terms of people, some companies are surviving or they're outsmarting the rest because of them engaging in unfair practices. For example, you may decide to poach a staff. You decide and say, I think there's a very good business development from Bank A. So what do you do? Because Bank A has taken over the market and you feel threatened, so you go ahead and poach that staff from the bank, with the precept that if this person is on our side, then they will actually translate that kind of business into our business. Now that's where you engage in unfair practices. Or sometimes you steal those ideas, as I've mentioned, by looking at also competition intelligence and engaging in what we call unfair trade practices. There's a good example I can recall, whereby one of the beverage companies in Kenya filed a case in the Unfair Trade Practices Tribunal, where they said that the competitor allegedly routinely bought out the rival's products, creating false shortage. So you decide to go ahead and buy all those products, knowing very well that once those products are out of stock, then the clients will automatically be offended and they'll be asking, why is it that this company does not have enough supply? So he did that because this action was meant to create that false shortage. And this caused the consumers to lose confidence in the complainant's product. That's just a concept of competition, whereby you decide that I'm going to buy those products so that I create shortage. When I create the shortage, people will now opt for my products or my services. So that was a case that was filed in Kenya some years back among the beverage industry companies, whereby the plaintiff was complaining while the complainant also looked at what case it was. So again, on the same line, Sun Tzu says that a skillful leader subdues the enemy troops without any fighting. He captures their cities without laying siege to them. He overthrows their kingdom without lengthy operations in the field. So basically, it's essentially an aspect of you being ahead of the rest. While people are sleeping, what sort of actions are you taking so that when they wake up, they find that things have changed. They find that the market is no longer theirs. That's what we can also attribute these to. I think there's also a comment from handshake mentality. By crushing the bottles, they created rebottling crisis. That's from Catherine. Okay, thank you, Catherine, for that. Yeah, so then we are looking at that skillful leader who ensures that you capture the enemy without having to engage in a lot of war. And these are tactics that most leaders, sometimes they tend to lose because they don't have that aspect of being tactical. You just wake up and say, watajua mimi ni nani? They'll know who am I, because you tend to believe in coercion instead of the subtle way in which you can gain support from the people that you're fighting with or the enemy. Hence, we can say that blue ocean strategy is a tidal wave that changes market dynamics forever, and it also tilts that balance of market power in favor of the value innovation-led game changer. That's essentially what that can also imply. Good. So I want us now to look at who developed the blue ocean strategy. And they have two main authors, and they came up with this idea after doing a lot of research and analysis, just to understand how companies were dealing with their market, and just trying to understand if you come up with a new market, then how does it change your strategy? So this concept of BO was developed by two professionals. That's Chan Kim and Rennie Morgan. So they presented this idea in their book called Blue Ocean Strategy: How to Create Uncontested Market Space and Make Competition Irrelevant in 2004. So throughout this period, they have enabled this concept to thrive in various organizations globally, because people now realized that there could be another way in which we can compete. You don't have to fight in competition. You don't have to engage in price wars. I don't have to buy off your products. I don't have to wake up today and put a billboard saying that this company is closed down, but I can come up with a new way, a new market, a new product, which can actually make me to stand out without necessarily having to compete with you. That's what these two came up with. So their book is Blue Ocean Strategy, and those are their faces, the book and the authors. So we have those two as the key people behind this concept. So they have won a lot of accolades because they have sold over 2 million copies globally. And this has also been translated into over 41 foreign languages, which is a world record. Then there are also professors in various universities and schools. They have taught in the US, taught as much as theory of strategy, leading business schools, gives insights to CEOs, executives, head of state, and prime ministers. So, as I was saying, that these two, the gentleman and the lady, studied different, or they came up with that idea after looking at 150 strategic moves spanning more than 100 years and 30 within the 30 industries. So what they did is they selected the industries and said, these industries that have been there for over this period of time, they want to see what have they been doing all this period. Are you looking at a business that since its inception, their culture is the same? in terms of how do they recruit, in terms of the technology. They have never adopted any new technology. They're still competing in the same market space without necessarily developing any new innovation. So they did that to just understand how these companies have been and what will have led to their static nature of existence. And considering that also we have other businesses that have emerged, how have they moved with speed to ensure that they come up with a new market for themselves? So in their book, they say that tomorrow's leading companies will succeed not by battling competition, but by systematically creating blue oceans of the uncontested market space ripe for growth. That's ideally what they advance as a discussion. So more about this, Chan Kim is that he's the co-author of that book and also a co-director of the INSEAD Blue Ocean Strategy Institute. I don't know whether we've come across the INSEAD. INSEAD is a very prominent and popular institute that offers a lot of leadership training, market development, market strategies, as well as that. Because of if you go to the INSEAD Institute, you find that even they have online programs that are very, very insightful for us if we are looking at being strategic in our roles, either as business partners or even as entrepreneurs who wish to venture into business. So he was also a professor at the University of Michigan Business School and also served as a board member as an advisor of various multinational corporations. He's also an advisory member of the European Union and serves as an advisor to several countries. Then we have this lady, Professor Ren Morborn. Also, is a co-author now with Chan Kim. So they also co-director of the INSEAD Blue Ocean Strategy Institute. She's a professor, distinguished fellow strategy at the INSEAD, the world's second business school, and also is a member. She was a member of the President Obama's Board of Advisors on Historical Black Colleges and Universities. She's also a fellow of the World Economic Forum. Now, coming to this point then, after that history of the two and how they came up with this idea, then what does literature reveal to us in terms of this strategy? So literature tends to bring out the concept of competition being enormous. That in life is about competition. And therefore, how do we beat the competition? That's basically what literature talks about. Because if you look at all those marketing strategy or strategic models, they talk about competition. If you are looking at Porter's 5 forces, it's talking about competition. If you are looking at the generic strategies, they're talking about competition. If you are looking at other models, like even SWOT analysis, it's about competition. So all this is what literature talks about, that success is about competing and outsmarting the competition. But then how do we become better than our rivals? How do we gain competitive advantage? So the book by these two tends to challenge these conventional ideas of strategic success. So according to them, competition should not occupy the center of strategic thinking. And you'll agree with me that any day, anytime you wake up, anytime you are at work, anytime you are in that meeting, that board meeting, what is your mind always? How do we outwit our competitor? And at no point will the meeting end without somebody mentioning that our competitors are doing this, or this is what others are doing. That's what Chan Kim tends to say, that the essence of Blue Ocean strategy is to challenge that kind of idea, so that we should not attribute success to beating competition, but it says we need to creating a new and contested market space, and so that we create a leap in value for our customers. That's essentially what these two people advance. Hence, This strategy should represent or presents that systematic approach. And some of the questions that we need to ask ourselves is, what is distinctive about this strategy as a theory? 2, how do we reconstruct the market boundaries? Essentially, by reconstructing the market boundaries, meaning you're looking at the market and saying, I don't want to do what others are doing. I don't want to venture into the same market. I don't want to venture into the same, I don't want to do the same thing. But what I'll do is, I want to create a demand for this, which is not being offered by the current market, so that you bring in something more than, sometimes we call it a distinctive feature or a value addition, which others are not doing. And that calls for a lot of customer satisfaction analysis. So you need to look at the customers and ask them, what do you think you are not getting from M-Pesa or from Safaricom? So that if you have to compete with Safaricom, you need to find out the dissatisfaction issues that are surrounding this market, so that you now capitalize on that. That's what we call reconstructing the market boundaries. So that after that, then you need to focus on the big picture. Because now already you have that idea and say, now how do I launch this idea so that it gives me a mileage? Okay. Then how do you reach beyond existing demand? So that once you create it, also, you shouldn't be that business that you create the demand, then all of a sudden you have no supply. Or you brand yourself and people look at you, they actually feel that you are this business they have been waiting for, this service they have been waiting for, but all of a sudden, because of lack of the direction, then you end up disappointing your clients because you're not looking at reaching beyond the existing demand. Then another question is, how do you overcome organizational hurdles? Meaning you're now looking at the operational, the functionality, so that you don't curtail the process of meeting the demand within the market. Then how do you build execution into strategy? How do you build execution into strategy? I want to give you, maybe just want us to ponder on this question within your organization. And maybe I want to give an example. I don't know whether there's anybody here who is who works from a bank. The time there's Family Bank. Family Bank, when it was launching its branch in Gikomba Market, I think that direction initially received a lot of opposition. I'm just giving that as an example because it gives that idea of how to make you stand out from the rest. So when they did that first, the idea was that because Equity had their own branch there, Equity had the branch, Cooperative had the branch, so they felt, can we also have a branch in that market? So the idea, what drove them, and I think whoever was coming up with that idea was thinking, since that place is so crowded, we have so many people, and you as business people will get a lot of savings, or we're going to get a lot of people opening the accounts and dealing with the rest. But to their shock, initially the branch was launched, with all the pomp and color and the rest. What happened to the clients is clients looked at it and were wondering, these people look so clean. The building looks so clean. Even the entrance, when you go there, it looks so diverse and so distinctive. And somebody who has been walking along Gikomba wants to open an account or wants to deposit some money. So they faced a lot of challenge at the initial stages, and they're asking themselves, how come we've opened like any other branch, but we are not getting people? How come the clients are not visiting our branch? What could be the real reason? And one of the business development thought of a very, we call it outrageous action, and said that since these people, our branch looks so clean, maybe what if we try out and have to change the way or we change our layout of the floor so that we get this wood, what do you call them? Wood what? The wood, what is this one again that is disappearing? So they thought we need to have to make our flow so that it doesn't create fear in the clients that are visiting us. Let them feel that even if I have the gumboots, I can still walk into the bank without necessarily feeling that I have dirty shoes or I have dirty gumboots. So that way, then they went for the wood shavings and they laid that. In fact, in the first week, they decided to do that just to see, and they did it on a Saturday because they felt we cannot do it on a weekday. Let's try a Saturday and see how the response will be. And that decision to just have that kind of setting, many people, first of all, there are people who just wanted to know what is happening with this bank. How come they have spread all these all over? And whenever they did that, the inquiring, they were being told, actually, we are doing this because we don't want our customers to be scared about our environment. We want them to feel comfortable so that even if you've stepped out of the mud, you can still come comfortably and do what? And transact. So because of that inquisitiveness, as people were asking, then it already created a demand, and people are thinking, if these people are doing this, then that means they're already caring, and that word went round. And the following week, the bank started getting clients who were opening their accounts, and they were actually thinking that, okay, this bank does not care about or does not bother about our shoes. So, and that's just a concept that came from somebody, and people are thinking, that's outrageous. How can we do that? How can we do that to a bank when we have hired cleaners and they're doing this work? How do we go again and spread all that to our floor? But you can see it changed the whole mindset in the people, which means were it not for that idea, then they will not have survived that competition. So they looked at something that will distinguish them from the rest. Okay. Okay, somebody says, could the colors of Family Bank could be the Blue Ocean Vision, by extension SCHRP? And Irene says, Catherine, you are very creative in the thought. I agree with that. I think it is the creativity bit. And based on what they do, I think it also resonates with the Blue Ocean strategy. But ideally, it's that concept of making you to stand out so that you don't appear like you are copying everything that your competitor is doing, but you are creating your own line of thought. You are creating your own idea, and you're making yourself to stand out and people to see you as a different person. Good. So then, how does your company get out of the red oceans of bloody competition and into blue ocean of uncontested market? That's a question that we'll be able to discuss. So as we take a break, I want us to know what you think about the blue ocean strategy in the chat section so far. From that discussion, then, what is your thoughts? What can you say about it? So maybe we take in the next, this is 10 past 10. So in the next 10 minutes, let's chat, let's share what is our thought around blue ocean strategy. So you can use the chat section. But if we have people that can unmute themselves and talk, this is your time. This is your turn, and we are open to that kind of conversation. So you're welcome. Let's hear from you. What do you think about this strategy? Chat section. It just hit me. That is Catherine, it grows the business in a unique way. Mary says BOS is really an eye-opener, and it has proved that one can win without fighting. Can you give us names of some local companies that have applied this and succeeded? That's from Jen. I think we'll look at that, Jen. It's refreshing. You're always crafting our strategy according to what the competition is doing. We need to change tact. That's from Masha. Masha says, yes, we are always crafting our strategy according to what competition is doing. We need to change tact. Good. Keep the comments coming. Let's hear from each other. Let's see what we think. Let's see what our experience have been. Gives you a competitive advantage over those in the same industry and forces employees to be creative. That's from Sabrina. Thank you, Sabrina. HRBP really ought to adopt the Blue Ocean strategy to be able to get HR professional recognized as the next CEO or the main advisor. Good. BOS is advisors our capacity to innovate. That's from Winnie. Thank you. It enables one focus less on competition and more on creating unique niche for oneself and standing out from the crowd. Thank you, Francisca. Anthony says it's all about doing clean business. Miriam says reaching the uncontested market space. Mary Kay says it's a healthy way of doing business, but does it work across the board for every business? That's a question that Mary says. It's a healthy business, but does it work across the board? And I think that opens up another conversation, whether do we have what we call the best fit? Because in business also we talk about the best fit and the best practice. Good. Then we have Mary Kay also saying it's a healthy way of doing business, but does it apply? Okay. Keep the comments coming. Jen says innovation, 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 trailblazing, and others follow. Catherine says our government should adopt BOS. Thank you, Catherine. Sabrina says service delivery is top notch. Good. That's in line with the concept that service delivery is top notch. Thank you. Let's see the comments coming. Gentlemen, can you cut your niche in this discussion? I don't see you cutting your niche. Now, can I identify with that's from Lucy? Blue Ocean Strategy, I can confirm my CEO is one person who has embraced the strategy, looks for gaps and provides solutions beyond the client's expectations. And this has seen as registered pretty good progress. Good, that's Lucy. Lucy shares with us the experience with this, how the CEO has been able to advance this concept and actualize it in their space. Thank you, Lucy, for sharing. All right. Who else? Gentlemen, I could see also Cleophas. Who else is there? Lucy, Sabrina, okay. Let's keep the conversation, guys. All right. Delayed actualization of ideas. Okay, that's what we had earlier. Okay, okay. So let me see. Comment from Lucy. The best way to get into uncontested markets. How it applies. Okay, fine. So thank you, guys. I think another comment from BOS is about being creative and sharing ideas. That's Liz Lubia. Okay. Let's keep sharing. We still have, as we take this break for 10 minutes, then we'll get into the second and final session. Okay, from Catherine, I think Catherine says, could the CS Matiang'i be Blue Ocean believer? Maybe a model of who is the next CS must be part of the job profile prerequisite. Okay, that's from Catherine. Then Sabrina says, next HR to have customer focus, increase training and development, be a strategic expert and advisor. And data analysis is one of aspect that is emphasized. All this lead to smart performance. Thank you. So let's keep chatting. Let's keep sharing. Just keep sharing. So Catherine says, could that CS Matiang'i be a Blue Ocean believer? Maybe a model of who the next CS must be. I think that becomes, since it's a political appointee, sometimes the challenge is whether the political class resonate with competition or the Blue Ocean strategy. Do they resonate with that, or they would rather see a firefighting person in the essence of a leader? So that's another contest that we can have debates around to see whether when it comes to politics, how does Blue Ocean strategy operate? And also in the market, in different market environments. If, for example, you operate in a very stable environment vis-a-vis a turbulent environment, where is Blue Ocean strategy likely to be adopted? And that's basically like, if you're looking at public vis-a-vis the private sector, who is more likely to adjust or to adopt this strategy owing to the prevailing environment or the business environment? Then from Horten says, I think budget and skill staff are the biggest in promoting Blue Ocean strategy. Horten says she thinks budget and skill staff. Okay, Catherine says, how can we cure our country of the emphasis on competition in leadership schools taught so that we find the best strategists? How do we cure the country of the emphasis on competition in leadership? Leadership schools, yeah. Taught to that, we find the best strategies. So that's according to Catherine. What do we do to ensure that we move away from emphasis on competition in leadership as it's taught in school, so that we find the best strategists, or we come up with the best way to handle our issues. Okay, keep the comments coming. Keep them coming, keep them coming. And remember, you don't need to just, you can comment, you can even give your divergent view. That's what actually this blue strategy is all about. That's what we said. We need people who are divergent. You can also give your divergent view, because that's part of our learning today. That's part of our interaction, and that's what is advancing our conversation. Horton says focusing on the market demand. All right. Focusing on market demand. That is from Hortense. Thank you, Hortense. I was challenging gentlemen on this platform because I don't see their comments coming. I don't expect them to be observers. I would want them to be active participants. How can we cure our country from that? Okay. Right. So I think our 10 minutes, actually our 12 minutes is over. So we can continue with the conversation. Let us advance the conversation as we progress. There's a chat from the current millennial problem in the country is because young people seem inclined to BOS, but all scholars are copy-paste mentality. I actually think university should adopt BOS as at UCC. That's a comment from Catherine. Promotes research. Current millennial problem in the country is because young people seem inclined to BOS, but all scholars are copy-paste mentality. Okay, Magdalene says, can Blue Ocean turn against the organization that initiated e.g. Uber in the taxi industry? That's the question she is asking. Can it turn against the organization that initiated e.g. Uber in the taxi industry? So that one, I think it actually does not turn against it, but what it has done is it has transformed the industry. I think you realize that even those people who are resisting the online platform, they now had to come up to devise ways in which they can compete. So meaning, they already left out of competition. So then they said, if we cannot beat them, then we join them. And they also had to look at ways in which they can compete. Right. Then, I think University of Common Course, I think, yes. Catherine says, a university need to have BOS as a university common course. Thank you, Catherine. I think that's a very important concept when it comes to curriculum review for institutions, that is very key. Oscar Ilavonga says, the boy child here is still in the red ocean, but moving fast to the blue ocean. We are thinking not out of the box, but as if the box is not there. Good thought from Oscar says that the boy child here is still in the red ocean. Is not actually, for him, actually the boy child, according to him, is that we don't even have the box to think outside it. But the belief is that even the box does not exist there. A very interesting comment there from Oscar. Thank you, Oscar. Well, I think let's progress now on our next concept is the business universe. The business universe. What is a business universe? What is a business universe? So the universe is categorized into the two. Then Catherine, I think, takes the same cue on the discussion with Oscar and says, if the box exists, Oscar, throw it maybe. Oscar, you have a challenge there. If the box exists, throw it maybe. Good. So we have what we call the business universe. And from our own understanding of what a universe is this huge feeling, this thought of the universe, the globe, the world, what is contained in the world. If you recall, when you're being told what is contained in the world, and you discuss so many things that sometimes, even up to now, you don't understand what is constituted in that universe. But our point of focus or point of discussion under this is to understand the universe from the business point of view. We are looking at the business and it's the space of that business. And in this space, then we have two main occupants in the business universe. We have the red oceans and we have the blue oceans. Those are the main two occupants when we try to demystify this concept from the business perspective. And if you look at that, that's just the illustration on how the two, so the two of them, they're operating in the same environment, and therefore you see them just as illustrated there, how they tend to compete. So we need to look at what is now in these red oceans, what it is. So red oceans, they're all those organizations that exist today, like in each and everything that we are, the companies that we work for, most of them, in fact, all of them, unless if it's not a profit making, then all of them are looking at making money, making profit. And if you're driven by profit, essentially your focus is more on beating competition. The discussion is about beating competition. The DNA is about competing. We made 10% profit last year. We cannot afford to drop below that. Now, those becomes the conversations. We need to expand our market share. We're only occupying 45%. We need to move to 70%. Now, those are some of the conversations that we'll hear in all the meetings, business strategic meetings and all that. Therefore, red oceans represent the non-market space. It is basically the non-market space, the ones that we know. Charity Wangui says, BOS can also be adopted in our private lives, especially for young people, and also in the state of joblessness. Great insight there, that we can adopt that even in the wake of joblessness. All right, now, even on that line, somebody was saying, if you've never started a business for the last, I don't know how many years you've been working, what will make you to start a business during the COVID pandemic after you lose your job? And at times, these are the questions we grapple with when, for example, our institute, my institute, we focus more on, we do separation training. In this separation training and pre-retirement training, what we do is we try to sensitize people who are just about to retire. But now we've come up with categories where we have even a training for people who are starting entry position, and we guide them on how they need to ensure that during retirement, they don't suffer, but they inspire. We need to see that inspiration. So based on that statement that she has put there, what I wanted to say is, when you are looking at yourself as an individual person, then to what extent do you ensure that you make the right decisions that will enable you to progress? So as an institute, what we offer is we train people on how they can prepare themselves for retirement. So meaning, according to us, retirement starts from employment. The moment you get your employment that day, then that's already, you're signing a letter showing that you're moving towards retirement. So you need to look at how well am I going to prepare myself for retirement. So what I wanted to pick from there is, in most cases, when we train people who are about to retire, the question they will always ask us is, you know, I wish I would have known these ideas when I was 25 years old. I wish I would have known these ideas when I started working, because you are giving me ideas when I'm 5 years to retirement. And even to some extent, sometimes we train employees who have just, or who the organization is outplacing, or sometimes maybe they're being laid off. So usually the mood at that point is, somebody is asking themselves, you know, I've not even had an idea before. I've never thought of starting a business. And here you are, you want to tell me that I can start a business. So according to them, they're looking at a very tall order idea that we are trying to tell them, and it actually changes their scope. They start feeling that they'll have done this earlier. And I was just picking that from that comment where they're saying that in the case of joblessness, can people adopt this blue ocean strategy, whereby you try coming up with an idea, you try actualizing an idea that none is using, or somebody that's not using that kind of idea. Anyway, so in this red ocean, we are saying that it's basically a typical organization that we are in. what we do, the products we sell, and how we change our prices and how we attract customers, how we come up with discounts just to actually compete with the market. So these red oceans have these characteristics. If you are in banking sector, you know your boundaries, you know your products, and you know this is what we target. These are the portfolio of products. So that means the boundaries and limits of the industry are well defined and accepted. Secondly, the standards are accepted, well understood, and the rules of the game. So you all understand, if I want to have an edge over my competitor, this is what I need to do. If they have 10 branches, maybe you start thinking that maybe we need to offer a product that is in the same market so that we compete because of our brand. But at times it ends up messing the whole business. You've seen how companies that have exponentially grown coming to a halt all of a sudden, because I think the strategy at that point is not informed by the continuity. You're not looking at the continuity. You're just saying we need to compete because they're in Zambia, let's also be in Zambia. Or because they're in Uganda, let's also be in Uganda, which ultimately hinders the organization's success. Or even at individual level, you want to buy an Uber and start a business of Uber because your colleague who joined this year also did the same. So Nasema, why not? Why not me? Then you end up, because of the game, then you say, this is a game for all. Let us take it up and see who succeeds and who fails. Then apparently also there is this cutthroat competition between companies. In this setting, there's a cutthroat. Each company tries to capture a greater share of the existing demand by competing and outperforming its competitors. That's now the other aspect of this red ocean. And another aspect is that the prospects of profit and growth are limited and even further decrease as the space gets more and more crowded. And remember, in any competition, there's that usually that what we call the red oceans will turn bloody due to increasing competition. By bloody here, we're just denoting a concept of where you're engaging in fights. You roll out these, they roll out these. They make a move, you make a move. They start a branch, you start a branch. They come up with a discount, you come up with another discount. That's now the war. That's the essence of this red ocean. So even from the individual perspective, sometimes we compete. We try competing, we compete and say, if this person was not very good when he started working, how come he or she is running a business which I can do better? That's the essence of this competition. So we are all thrown into this mud of competition and thinking, I need to be better, I need to outsmart this person and the rest. Whereas the blue oceans, as we've discussed before, they denote organizations that are not in existence today. Or you are looking at an idea that has not been exploited. Just like when you're looking at the explorers or people who came up with the, who discovered this, who discovered new things or new concepts, we are looking at them coming up with something that is unique, and we keep on referring to the history, like the first person to discover maybe or to come up with a radio or a mobile phone, who came up with that, or the first person to develop a railway line. So all that is about the concepts that were initially not in existence, but they were mooted and actualized with time. Hence, this blue ocean now represents the unknown market, which is free from any kind of competition. Then we need to look at these characteristics, which I think we've already alluded to in our discussions, is that the demand in blue ocean strategy is created, but not competed for or fought for. From the kind of discourse we've had, we can now understand clearly that blue ocean is about creating demand. It's about generating a market. It's about market development. You develop a market for your business or for your idea, but you don't engage in competition. You don't go to the feed and say, I want to compete with you. I want to ensure that I outsmart you. But it's about coming up with a different mode of thought, whereby your model is about creating demand. There's also a vast and unlimited opportunity for companies to profit and grow. Then there is no existing standard competitive rules in the game. That means as you start that business, you are the first one actually to inform which rules of the game will be. And that's why you found that when Uber business started, initially they came up with some prices, which for them, they were setting their standards and saying, if we set these in terms of how many kilometers have been covered vis-a-vis these, now that was the rule of the game. But now with those rules that were started, you find that now other businesses that have gone online, the taxi businesses, have been able now to use that as a benchmark or as a precedence for them now to also charge their clients and also offer other services in the same space. So each company creates its own rules for itself. Like I can give an example of Little Cab. The CEO of Little Cab, actually what he did is, it was last year, he said, or he looked at how the drivers have been suffering when it comes to maybe fueling and all that. So what he did is, he said, the owners of this, once you subscribe with Little Cab, then you'll actually be able to access financial support in the event that you don't have money. And he came up with that idea and said, all the subscribers under this platform will be able to get some funding towards maybe fuel, maintenance, and the rest. But you see, that way is also one way in which you are tying this business or you are tying these clients into your business to ensure that you don't lose them. It's more about how do you maintain your clients or how do you retain your clients? So he created that rule, and you can see it's not common in other online taxi businesses, but he did that basically to ensure that he gets, or he makes the shareholders in the business to feel that they are valued, which is a very unique concept. There is no cutthroat competition. Remember that one we've said. Then each company tries to create demand among non-customers. So you're looking at people that were not initially in the same space, but you're looking at creating that demand for it. Then the waters are or remain cool and blue as each product or service is valued by its customers as valuable addition to their lives. So that's the essence of that. Good. I don't know whether is there any question up to that point in terms of the distinction between the two. Leave your comments on YouTube. I think, yeah, that's a comment from SCHRP. Can give comments on YouTube for those who are following us on YouTube. Then the distinction between blue ocean vis-a-vis the red ocean strategy. So this is just a summary of what it does. So blue ocean creates market space that is uncontested and free from any competition. Whereas this other red ocean, it does what? It involves competing in the existing market space. And I think as we look at that, or as we look at this concept, I would like us now to give from that, whatever we've had now, can we look at Kenyan examples? Kenyan examples, or even your business or your organization that you work for. Do you think it has created a market space that is uncontested or free from any competition? Do you know of any organization that has done that from the local case? So that also we make our discussion locally, because I've given some of the global, though even Uber is local, but we want to see in other spheres of business, do we have, or can you say your business or your organization has adopted this blue ocean strategy? Let's have those comments coming. Ladies and gentlemen, we want to have those comments. Do you think your business or your organization has in any way adopted blue ocean strategy, or you are more on red ocean strategy? Or have you any idea of which business or which organization locally resonates or has implemented the blue ocean? There's a question from Magdalene Treko who says KPLC question mark. She says KPLC, then question mark. So Magdalene, do you think KPLC is a blue ocean or not? Or you wanted to say clarification? Okay, Charles says, can Jumia be in the category of BOS? Yes, Jumia is in that category because others came and in Kenya now, then they followed suit. Maybe I can try with COVID-19. There is only one supermarket that is offering gloves to their customers for free as they go to that shop. Rolin, which supermarket is that? People can go and also benefit from those gloves. Then there is, thank you, there's a comment from, okay, there's a comment from our government should adopt, okay. I think that's what we looked at. Maybe, yes, KPLC is a government monopoly, that's from Charles. Glover have tried to come up with a new concept. How does BOS reconcile with the concept of perfect competition by economists? That is H.M. Guza says, how does it reconcile with the concept of perfect competition by the economists? So when you talk about perfect competition, remember, we usually have assumptions that there will be certain aspects whereby when you're competing at that level, and the market depends on the demand and supply. So everything is at equilibrium. But now when you talk about BOS, then BOS comes in whereby you're creating a niche for yourself, but then you're not on equal basis. Because what is happening is you're trying to create a different market than the existing one. But in perfect competition is like, we expect all businesses are equal, they are competing on equal, they have enough resources, and therefore it's about demand and supply. But this one tends to shift to the aspect of identification and creating or rebranding. You rebrand with a new concept that makes you stand out from the rest. Then schools adopting virtual learning, I think that's from Lillian. Schools adopting virtual learning. Then there is Rollin says what? Rollin talks about Carrefour as another BOS. How is Carrefour a BOS? Since it's similar to other chains, maybe we need to get what is distinctive about Carrefour. Then Irene says that my organization has been on red ocean, but post-COVID, I'm seeing us moving toward blue ocean. Things are now thick. No time to fight competition, but learning to be unique. Thank you. Has someone else realized there is an issue with sound? Okay, maybe let's see. It seems I'm not being heard. Oh, good. I think now that's the response. Carrefour is actually is providing the free gloves. That's what makes it unique. Now, maybe to make Janet, maybe to make this concept also to be very, to sync well with us is Carrefour is offering that as an, what do you call it, value addition. But it's not using it basically for economic purposes. As much as it's doing that, maybe people are visiting, but as much as it may increase the sales, but is it creating a niche for them? Because now that's the main thing that we need to focus on. Let's look at Carrefour coming up with a concept that others will start copying. But in this case, I think maybe they're doing that to give value to their customers. Organization is moving towards BOS. That's from Mary, working on the idea that has not been done here in Kenya before. In floriculture industry, can't share details as someone might overtake us. Interesting, yes. So we will be waiting. We'll be watching this space for Mary to see what is in from this floriculture industry. Okay, then Charles says, I think the sound is clear. Whether people have challenges with the sound, let's know whether we are together. If there is none, then we can proceed. Anybody else with any idea? From the HR perspective, have you introduced anything that is distinctive to your organization and what you may use it to retain staff? Because now that's another aspect. Is the organization having something, an incentive or a benefit that is unique to us, which we use it to retain our staff, or which we use it to enhance retention and motivation among our people? Maybe that's a question I can also throw back to the professionals here. Have you done anything unique? Do you think there's anything that you've done unique that makes you stand out? Okay, Rolin says we have 13th pay, which is sort of rare in organizations. That's Rolin says 13th pay. Okay. So every time people are looking forward to the end of the year, they know there'll be another 13th check to handle their hassles for January. I'm presuming that's when it happens, depending on which is your year. When does your year start and when does it end? That's according to Rolling. That's what they do as one of the blue ocean thing that makes them stand out. So that but I don't know whether now when you use that to attract people. Do you attract? We call them as the right minds for your organization using that. Is this something that you can use to attract and ultimately enhance the productivity of the organization? Because we need to see that relationship between this incentive and whether it makes you to be the employer of choice. There is that aspect, employer of choice, so that everyone is dreaming and saying, I want to work for Virgin Atlantic because they have this and that and that. I want to work for this organization because we have this and that. Okay, Rollins says we use it to attract excellent candidates and we do not have turnover. Right, I think if it works for you, then that perfectly suits you because it makes you to stand out and people will always be working towards, or somebody is looking forward to the end of the year so that they get this 13th pay. Good. Anybody else? Anyone else? Anyone else? Right. I think those are the only comments from each one of us, but I believe we need to have more. There is Hortense says 25 annual leave days. That's from Hortense. Okay, so then they offer 25 annual leave days. So my presumption here is that 25 annual leave days is used to attract and also to retain and motivate people. Because that's the only way you can say you're creating a niche for yourself in a new market where none is offering the same number of days. Okay, so we keep the conversation. So the other distinctive feature between Blue Ocean is that it helps make, on the Blue Ocean strategy, competition is irrelevant, while Red Ocean is about beating competition. Blue Ocean strategy, it helps to break away from the value cost trade-off, finding greater value for customers and low cost simultaneously, whereas Red Ocean is about trade-off. So you're looking at value to customers at a higher cost or create reasonable value at a lower cost. Then on Blue Ocean, we say it creates and helps to gain new markets, while the other one is your existing markets. Blue Ocean strategy helps to coordinate the whole organization activities in the quest of differentiation and low cost, whereas the other one also, Red Ocean, is about coordinating the whole organization activities with its strategy choice to differentiate or the low cost. Another difference, Blue Ocean, remember we said you are creating a market that is not existing, a target customer that is not existing. You're looking at something that will make you stand out, whereas Red Ocean, you are targeting in existing customers. Now, looking at this distinction, then the question I will throw back to the comment about Carrefour is, do you think that action by Carrefour, is it targeting existing customers or looking at completely new customers? Well, that's the distinction that we need to iron out. Okay, then there is, I think we have some comments here. Mary Kay says we give fruits. Mary Kay says we give fruits to employees Monday to Fridays and lunch on Saturdays. Okay. Margaret Hinga says, creating an environment where staff can come with the young ones to work and they will be taken care of as they work. Meshach says, there's Meshach. Yeah, Meshach says, I think the Equity Bank Wings to Fly program is a Blue Ocean strategy targeting their resourcing function. All right. Thank you, Meshach, for that. Great. I think I like the conversation. So based on that, then my question is, which of the following is not a Blue Ocean strategy? It creates and helps to gain new demand. Or the market space, creates market space which is uncontested. Helps to make competition. It involves targeting existing clients. So let me see your feedback on that. Which one is not a Blue Ocean strategy out of those four? Then we have SG. SG says engagement of employees at all levels. Everyone has a voice, including the driver. I think that applies to the organization. That's what sharing. You can't know the difference between the different ranks. We have created a home away from home at the office. Every company's employees that share our premises wish to work with us. We have company lunch every get together on the company's bill. Hey, that's a wonderful one from SG. You can see what that company does from SG, but I don't think SG is willing to leave that company any soon. Then we have I just want to pick another comment from after SG. Yeah, Jen is saying Carrefour stopped giving out gloves, therefore it was not a Blue Ocean strategy, it was costs. Yes. Pauline says targeting existing customers is not a Blue Ocean strategy. Good. And Musa says it involves targeting existing customers. Okay, that's now on my question. That is the question. Sabrina says involves targeting existing customers. Yeah, so what is not a blue ocean strategy out of those 4? We are getting your feedback there. And says targeting existing customers. Sabrina says targeting customers is not a blue ocean strategy. Thank you, Pauline. Any other feedback? Keep them coming. Any other feedback? Yeah, targeting existing customers is not a BOS. Brenda says it involves targeting existing customers. Yeah, targeting existing customers, not a BOS. Thank you, SG, Teresia. Targeting existing customers. Targeting existing customers, not a BOS. Yeah, targeting existing customers. Thank you. That's from Jaggi. Good. I think the verdict is out, and we can see who is winning without any interference with the server. We can see it's number 4. Those who are saying it involves targeting existing customers. So ideally, BOS is not about targeting existing customers, but you're creating a niche, you're creating a new market, you're creating your own. So I want us now to give examples. We had said examples of companies, but I think we have looked at that. These are just global examples, but we have illustrations on each one of them, what they have done, and what sort of difference have they had in the business circle. So I want us now to look at removement, because we have, I think, a few minutes to the end of the session. So I want us to look at why do we need the blue ocean strategy? Why do we need the blue ocean strategy? Why do we need it? So I have a number of reasons, and from the time we started up to now, we understand that if you want to compete, you should at all costs avoid where there is cutthroat competition. So in this case, blue ocean strategy is a must, and it's a sure bet when it comes to success when companies have to compete in the red ocean. So if you don't want to compete in that red ocean, then you rather create this niche that you can now utilize and set the pace. In fact, it's like you are the one setting the ground for competition. You are setting the stage for competition. You are the owner of the rules and all that makes you to stand out. Then, due to crowded space, companies have to beat others by reducing their prices, which leads to that. Hence, now the need for the BOS. I think that resonates well with why somebody was asking the business case for BOS. So under blue ocean strategy, there is no competition. Therefore, you have this uncontested market space. Then the products and services are unique and present value to its customers. So meaning you're looking at a product or a service which you feel value for, a service that you feel is distinct, a service that you feel meets your needs as is a customer. That's the essence of this. So another business case for that is that the products or the services do not become commodities. Meaning commodities, we are not just looking at going to the market and finding everything, because now that's where commodity comes up or comes in. So you're looking at distinctive value for the business. You see a comment from, it's about creating a distinct product that will create demand for itself. Judy, thank you. Okay, then of course, that blue oceans are blood-free and hence easy to do what? Easy to venture in and sail safely. And also they have uncontested market, so it makes them to to be distinct. Lack of competition leads to a greater and quick growth in sales and profits. And also they actually utilize market opportunities quite fast, and also they can explore those markets quite easily. Then this brings us to, did you know that the book Blue Ocean Strategy has translated into 43 languages and is a bestseller across 5 continents: North America, South America, Europe, Asia, and Africa. So if you've not read this book, you can always Google it and have an idea of what others are looking at. So those are the significance or the business case for the Blue Ocean strategy. And therefore, if we look at it, then we can only see that, in fact, now this comes to the second aspect, or the second last aspect of our discussion, where we need to define those key terms. So we have the blue oceans, red oceans, which we've discussed, structuralist strategy, reconstructionist strategy, and value innovation. So blue ocean, we've said the areas that are uncontested, and therefore there is no current product offering. Then red oceans, of course, we said there is a lot of competition and industries are there. So meaning, if you're in a red ocean, then that means your business is a conventional business, or it's a business that has been in existence. But if you wake up today and say, I want to come up with a product, and I want to come up with a gadget that will be able to determine my lifespan from today, so that if I look at that product, it enables me to know how many years am I having ahead, or it's able now to give me the kind of trajectory I'm going to take. Then in that case, I'm sure you'll attract so many people, because that's a market that people have been grappling with to understand what's going to happen. So it tends to challenge the conventional thought, and people are wondering how can you be able to predict my trajectory in life? How are you able to predict how many years are left? How are you able to predict all that? So it becomes a unique concept. Then we have structuralists. So structuralist strategy is where you increase the demand by having a traditional mindset of competing against each other's companies in the existing market, where you just say, let's continue and compete. I'll put my products and services on the market, put yours, then let's comment and let's compete. Then we have reconstructionist theory. So reconstruction, from the word to reconstruct, that means you are trying to change the line of thought of things. Like if you read a book on reconstructionist theory, that book talks about how we need to change the mindsets of people. How do we need to change how we think? How we need to change how we behave? So meaning that from the experience that you've had, you need to undergo what we call reflection. You reflect, then you reconstruct yourself, or you reconstruct your life and say, I don't want to engage in my previous experiences anymore. I'm charting my new way of life. I'm charting my new way of interaction. Or you wake up and say, I'm not going to have all these friends as my friends anymore. So you are reconstructing your network. And that is usually informed by the objective that you want to achieve. And you may end up and saying, let me do an audit. You know, sometimes we have what we call, social benefit audit. So you do this social benefit audit, and in this case, you are saying, I want to identify people that are of value to me. So you'll have them align, all of them, you name them and say, from this number one, in terms of social network, let me do the audit and say, this one is helpful. So you have you come up with your indicators and say, on this one person scores 1, another one 2, like that. So you do the social audit, then at the end of it and say, if anybody have scored you out of the 5 components and you score, maybe each one of them the highest is 10, then you say anybody who scores 50 and above will remain in my network. So that way you are reconstructing yourself. Or if you wake up and say, I want to change the way I've been working. I want to change the way I've been doing things. So you are reconstructing the way you work. Or you want to change the way you've been dealing with people. Because you've come to realize that being abrasive does not benefit. You rather engage in a conversation so that you understand, you empathize with the people that you work with, so that you make the right decision. So that way then you are reconstructing your mind, you are reconstructing your approach to the people. Because failure, the way we fail, sometimes we fail not because of our own making, but because we are not able to adapt, we are not able to learn, we are not able to change the manner in which we deal with people. And usually the constructionist hinges more on emotional intelligence, so that you are trying to reshape your direction or your vision, having analyzed the situation that you're in. So that's the essence of understanding this, this concept. Good. Then we have value innovation. So value innovation, and this one is like the cornerstone of Blue Ocean strategy. It's like the DNA of Blue Ocean strategy. So you innovate to give value. Okay, you're coming up with an idea so that this idea will give you a competitive edge. This idea will provide a landing ground for you. This idea will make you to join a particular space that you never thought of. That's the essence of having that value innovation. So you're looking at a market or a product that does not exist. So you are seeking to do what we call differentiation. You differentiate your products so that these products target people that you never thought of. Your market was a bit at the higher end, but now you have to think and say, why not start an SME? And I'm sure you, for all of us who have experience with banks, there are some banks, some global banks that have established themselves in Kenya, and with the time, they never thought of targeting a particular segment of the market, maybe an SME. But the competition has now shifted their minds. They have reconstructed themselves and thought, we cannot continue operating in this cutthroat competition. Let us also follow the others that have ventured into a particular segment, like the SME or dealing with the informal sector. How do we have those people on board? Because that's the kind of competition. But you see, in that case, these banks, as they're trying to do that, they have lost out on value innovation, because they will have started that at the initial stages of them gaining the market, but they took their time. They never felt that was important, and therefore they lost out to other banks that took up that opportunity and very fast moved into it and started running the business by interacting with the informal sector. Hence, the value innovation will eliminate features or services that are less valued by the current or the future markets. So that brings us to the end of our module today, ladies and gentlemen. So we would like now to look at just a summary of what we've discussed. Maybe we just, as we end, let us just recap what we've gotten today, just from the chat section, and also maybe people can unmute themselves and say, what is it that they have achieved? What is it that they have learned today as we come to the end of this discourse? So it's an open conversation. Anybody who has not commented, please, now this is your turn. Venture into this market, venture into this space that you've not ventured. I need to venture into this. Okay. Okay, can see Catherine. Catherine, you have a comment. You can unmute yourself and share with us.
Yeah, I just wanted to comment over these last key terms that you talked about, key terms to use in the BOS.
Yeah.
And the reconstructionist strategy can actually be both individualized, you know, from a HR perspective.
Yes.
As you want people to sort of get involved with giving new ideas, they may probably have to reconstruct the way they work and the way they live.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah, so that the new ideas can then be brought into the scene.
Thank
so
you.
I thought that was quite valuable.
Yes, reconstructionist, that means you can look at it from that level of the individual so that people can rethink the way they also interact with you, the way they are doing things, so that they follow into your vision. It's more or less, if you want to introduce a change, you need to have the buy-in. And that buy-in involves reconstructing the minds of these people so that they see that the direction that you are trying to bring about is going to benefit each one of them, so that now they join you on board. Thank you, Catherine.
Thank you.
Right. There is, how are you have, you can give us your comment.
Yeah, sorry, I came in late a bit.
Okay.
I'm on a journey, but I'll still catch up.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, HM Guza. Let me see the chat section. It's about creating distinct product that will create demand. That's from Judy. Winnie says, my take home is that I should redirect my energy on strategy rather than competition. Good, that's Winnie. Sabrina says about taking advantage of the market that hasn't been ventured into and ideas not ventured. Thank you. Masha says, thank you for the session. Mr. Onyama, I enjoyed the slides. Thank you. The session is very informative. That's Mary. Thank you, Mary. Okay, what's your take home? The rest of the delegates want to hear from you. Okay, I think Francisca, we can see your comment. Session refreshing. Rolene, very interesting session. Felista, so it will shed more light on BOS. That was very informative. That's from Caroline. Thank you, Caroline. Charles, can see you. Hannah says thank you. Charles, comment?
Yes, for me, there's one key element that has, what I would say would be my take home.
Yes.
Is how to build execution into strategy.
Yes, how to build execution strategy.
Yes, because we all do strategies, and what fails is the execution bit.
Yes.
But you see now here, I'm seeing it is not how to do the strategy, but how to build execution in strategy.
Exactly.
And that's very key for me, and that is my take home for today.
Good. Thank you, Charles. Jane says, I like the energy in the session. Jack says, the session is very informative. Looking forward to module 2. Jane says, informative and has given me a new perspective. Thank you. Competition should not be a center of strategic thinking. That was a comment from the other delegate. Miriam says, using subtle way to settle scores. Then SG, thank you very much. Very informative, just Judy. So thank you very much. Thank you, everybody. And I'm glad. I want to appreciate your interactive way in which we've had this conversation. And I believe subsequently the next modules will do more, so that by the end of the module 3, we hope that we'll have reconstructed our line of thought in every aspect, both at the individual level and also at the team and also organizational level. Lucy says, my take home, creating differentiation, that's Paris. Lucy says, future considering existing gaps or future possible issues that will require attention, create a market for new products and services. Paris says, creating differentiation in the organization, and most importantly, our HR strategy. Hannah says, thank you. Well articulated. I can see the comments are coming in fast and furious. However, I would like now to hand over the session to our host, Mr. Den. Mr. Den, over to you, and thank you, everyone, and have a wonderful weekend. Den. Den, are you hearing me?
Yes, I can hear you very well.
Yeah, thank you very much, and over to you, Den.
Very well, James. And thanks everybody. Thank you for finding time to participate to today in today's event, the Blue Ocean Strategy. Now, this is the reason why we created this. I know the words Blue Ocean Strategy sounds a little bit abstract for HR professionals. And actually yesterday, a friend of mine told me, you need to describe what is Blue Ocean Strategy on the WhatsApp groups so that people would know what is this all about. And for those who have participated in our previous module regarding HR business partnering, where we thought and agreed that it is imperative for HR professionals to join the decision-making table where decisions regarding the organizations are being made. Then the Blue Ocean Strategy is just the thing now for you that think outside the box. Look for the uncontested markets. The uncontested markets including in what we do. What is it that we can do differently? What is it that the marketing department and the marketing boss has not seen regarding how we place our products in the market, but now you, the HR person, is able to see that. So when you are in that meeting, you are offering discussions and suggestions regarding marketing, regarding sales, and giving new strategies to your organization, and then you become a very valuable person. Having said that, this is a let's ensure we stay tuned in to module 2 and module 3. Some of these topics, as I said, our intention is to train, not to just pass on the CPD points. We train so such that by the end of the day, you have now known the concept of the Blue Ocean Strategy completely. And I would wish that you look at our notes. The notes are already on your portal. The video regarding this presentation again is on your portal. Look at the very well designed notes, and then you will be talking Blue Ocean Strategy in your organization. Now I want to open the floor for feedback. This is feedback time, and and today I want us to take very short time. So we read at exactly 11:30. So I'll give you a chance to say something. I'll call out your name. Chances are I'm trying to find out those who joined in, put their name there, it disappeared. So it is a routine roll call. Being the principal of the academy, I have a duty to ensure that people actually participated. So I'll start with Charles. You're there. Give us your takeaway home.
I had already given my takeaway. I said for me, what has really caught my eye is how to build execution into strategy. Because we all do strategies. We all do strategies, but when it comes to the execution that's where we fail.
Very well, Charles. Very well, Charles. When you want to speak, unmute yourself, then mute yourself back again. And briefly, and don't repeat what your colleague has said. Catherine Gabi, you're there. And since this is a roll call time, you can put your video on. Gambi, very
Yes,
well.
yeah, I'm there. I had shared, but I think this is one of the best things that ever happened because it prepares us for what we had done for the HRBP. I think it's awesome that we learn strategies rather than theories, and then we don't know how to apply. So this is one of the ways that I've picked up. It's very possible for us to be able to now start seeing how we can add value on the management board meetings and even participate in the strategic planning for the organization. I'm very, very grateful. Thank you.
Very good, very good. The reason I ask people to put their video on and also talk now rather than the chat box, as much as there is a COVID-19, let us network. Susan, you're there? Absent. Pat Wamburi? Pat. Lilian Yamo? Oh, Pat, you have come? Pat?
We go to long hills. Yeah, we will turn that way. And then at the next
one. Okay, although we can't hear you very well, lakini that's okay. Lilian Yamo?
Yes, this has been a good webinar. I'm on the road, but I've listened and I'm participating even on the chat.
Yes, very well, very well. That is very good. The good thing with online learning or the webinars, you can actually listen through. You can tune in as you do your other duties. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you, Lilian. Mere Kaifere?
My take home for the Blue Ocean strategy is about more value proposition and what being innovative and looking at better ways and lower cost of staying afloat, especially with the competitive market. So I look forward to the two other modules. Actually, it's my first time I'm attending the Blue Ocean strategy. So it's a good take home for me.
Very well, very well, very well, very well. We move on to Pauline Kenyita. As Pauline prepares, I move on to Oscar.
Thank you very much. I appreciate the session today. I think my biggest take home is basically just to have a paradigm shift in the way we've been doing things, especially at both personal level and organizational level. We are just about to start implementing new framework, and I was taking notes on how best I can be able to implement them different from what has been done before. So it's a good background laying for me. Thank you.
See, thank you, Oscar. Paradigm shift, that is the way we shall start thinking moving forward is key. Mele, my friend.
Thank you. Actually, these forums, they are really helping us, and personally, I've really learned a lot, and the relationship between the HRPB and this one for Blue Ocean, it is really showing us that as HR, we should stand out. We have a role to play. We should not just be sitting in order to be told, but we are there to take part even in strategies, and we also take part mostly in business so that we are able even to become CEOs. Thank you so much.
Very well, and I want to answer a question that has been asked, that the module 2 and module 3 will be a continuation of what we started today. It will not be a repeat. And those who've participated in HR Business Partnering Module 1, Module 2, Module 3, you realized that every session was totally different from the first. But then there is no need for us as a training provider to organize a training that we will rush you through in a few minutes. Then we say, now you've earned your CPD and you've learned Blue Ocean strategy. That is not how we will. Our shift, our strategy this time is that to impact positively. And I really appreciate those who appreciate us, for lack of a better term to use. Those who say that we are actually impacting on them with these trainings. That is the only way we can do that. So the Blue Ocean Strategy Module 2 will be a continuation of where we've left today. Then we move on up to the end of part 2. Then the final part that will now do the conclusion of the Blue Ocean Strategy will be on module 3. And if you want to see the objectives and the content of the Blue Ocean Strategy, when you go back to your portal, click on the course title. The course title will have a downloadable document that will indicate what is Blue Ocean Strategy, what are you expected to learn by the time you have done the entire content. Now I move on to Charity Wangari.
Hello, I'm here.
Charity, yes, put your video on and say something.
No, I'm in the shamba. I cannot put the video on. Okay, my take home today is it's about personal improvement as an organization. As much as we are competing with the outside there, we're also looking at making myself better. Maybe I'm the best, yes, but I still have room to be better. So not get to the comfort zone of, fine, I'm good, then I relax. Yeah, that's my take home for today.
Very well, very well. Lecho Mwangi will close the meeting, but before that, I want to hear from Mungai Ann. Mungai, yes?
Yes, I'm here. Yes, just to say that I've been able to hear a few things, although I came in a bit late. I'm in the office. But I'm glad, as I've said in the comment section, that this is out of the ordinary. All the others are usually HR something. So this, I was very interested. I've come in a bit late. Heard it's about something to do with competition and aligning HR strategies also with the company strategies. So I'd like to learn more from module 2 and 3. I'll read through the notes also to learn more, but yeah, I hope to hear such more. This is what I can say, challenging topics, not as in out of the ordinary. I really appreciate your efforts. So God bless you for everything. I'm looking forward to the other modules. Thank you.
Thank you, Mungai Ann. Miriam.
Thank you, Dan, for today's lesson about the BOS. I've been able to know the difference between the BOS and the red ocean strategy. And we are able to see how, as an organization, we can win without fighting. Yes, thank you.
Karibu sana. And that is very brief. Anthony Sumba. Anthony.
Yeah, thank you, Dan. My take home is the course has really reminded us as HR practitioners to continue acting proactively so as to create an environment that has minimal fires to fight. So it has been really been an eye-opener to us. Thank you.
And you reminded me something, Anthony. Now, I've seen that most of us have got assistants. You are the HR manager, you've got HR assistants, some people in HR below you. They can actually play a blue ocean strategy trick on you if you are not innovative and if you are not proactive. They can come up with a very nice product, a new design of how things are done. And then everybody else would be saying, wow, you see, so and so he has come up with this. Na huyo tulikuwa naye miaka hii yote hajawahi tuonyesha kufanya kazi in this other way. So this is a must have for all of us. Hanali, my friend, how are you?
I'm very fine. Although I joined a bit late, my take home is innovation, to think outside the box and create value for the organization. I'll be going back to see how you guys started and looking forward to part 2 and 3. Thank you.
Very well, thank you, Hanali. Then Lecho Mwangi.
My take home is innovation as well. I'm sorry, guys, I'm not able to put on my camera, but I've been following, and my take home is innovation and cost-effective strategy to better our organization. And it has been a very informative session, and I look forward to module 2 and 3.
Thank you. Elizabeth Lubia.
Thank you. I've appreciated the fact that there are challenges in our organizations, and we need to appreciate those people who are challenge us, because from that we get to learn more. And I'm looking forward to module 2 and 3. Thank you.
Wonderful, Liz. And I move on to Basha Mushiri.
Good morning, everybody. Thank you very much for such an informative session. I must say I've enjoyed it, not only just listening, but the aesthetics of it. Those were some very good slides that were prepared for us. So what have I learned? Today, blue versus red. Blue being look for new ways of doing things, look for new markets, and red being you stay where you are and be in your comfort zone. So it's been quite a learning. Thank you.
Thank you, Masha. Lucy Kinyinge, Lucy taught me something. Lucy, you're there?
Yes, then, Miss, I'm here. Yeah, good morning, members. And sorry, let me be allowed not to put on the video. You know, when you do these things, at times you do them in the house and you don't even prepare yourself like you're going to the office. So my take home today is one thing. Okay, I really didn't understand that there was what we call the red and the blue ocean. But one thing I'm happy with Mr. Wanyama and what he has taken us through is personally and my organization. By then I work for a university, and I look at what my CEO has been doing, and he's not been concentrating on competing with the other universities as such, but he's been trying to look for gaps and coming up with the, so to say, innovative programs and looking at areas where maybe others have not done so well. And as a young public university, we have really created an edge for ourselves. And I can only say, yes, the Blue Ocean strategy is the way to go. And I can also tell others, there are areas, you know, like, think of it, like in the university sector where you have, we have so many strikes going on and such. But we have also been able to show our students that you can come to the university, even if you're an engineering student, you don't have to take, such a long time because they are not, they are not straight. So your studies are uninterrupted and such things. And even with the COVID issues, I think we were the first university to graduate online, to do a virtual graduation. So for us, we've really adopted the blue ocean strategy. And I think I can tell others that is the way to go. And thank you, Dennis, for this event and others. And I look forward to attending the other 2 modules. Thank you.
Karibu, Liz. And that is Lucy. Then I move on to one last person before who wants to give the vote of thanks. Is it Mire?
It was somebody else, I think, not myself.
Lakini now before you do that, Irene, where are you?
I'm here then.
Yes.
Or which Irene?
Yes, Irene. There is Irene Kideka. Then there will be another Irene. Irene Kideka, say something. You know, Irene, I started with you in 2017. She was the first. She enrolled for the first. She enrolled for the first session way back in March 2017. So I still remember.
Yes, we did that with Marbolak those days. Anyway,
yes.
I think for me, what I've learned is the element where you need to stand out. And like I'd written earlier, sometimes we spend so much energy fighting instead of actually being creative. So, and then again, being a HR person, now you in a meeting, you're more confident to say certain things. And like before, where everybody's asking you for HR data, now you're more comfortable saying things that make sense. So yeah, but I can't wait for the others. You're in a board meeting and people are talking about sales and marketing and numbers, and now you're able to say you're more educated, you're more informed, and people will actually start seeking your opinion about how to run the business. And like before, where people just think you're HR, kwa hivyo, yeah, leave, absenteeism, and all the things that are unknowingly associated, strictly with HR. But I've learned a lot. Thank you very much. It's been a beautiful session. I like I told you, I couldn't wait for it. So yeah, I've totally enjoyed myself, and I'm looking forward for 2 and 3. Thank you.
Asante sana, asante sana, Eileen. That's that's a very beautiful synopsis. Now, there is the deputy CEO is absent, so I've not seen. So I'll allow Mire Mugwira to give a vote of thanks and close the meeting. And maybe before you say something, Mire, we have our upcoming training on annual HR symposium. This will be the 4th annual HR symposium coming up at a 5-star hotel, Lake Naivasha Resort. That will be on 10th to 12th November. Already IHRM is conducting its annual HR conference sometime in late October in Savera Lodge. Now, since we usually go toe to toe, we've consulted widely, and some of these hotels are able to maintain high level standards of health and sanitation. And allow me to share my screen with you briefly so that you are able to see the details regarding the annual HR symposium, including the health certificate and so on. And the fee is the best bargain ever. At 33,000, you are able to participate for a 3-day session. Mr. Wanyama will be there. It is a 3-day session. That cost covers meals and the cost of training. And you again get to interact with people from other walks of life, other industries. Like I know, Mary Mogwera, we are in the same industry. So we get to interact with other people from other industries and learn more on best practices. So we've always held this annual HR symposium every year since we began. From 2017, this will be the 4th event. So let me share that very fast, and then Mary is going to close. So to my courses, at these days we've said that the system has been modified. It's very efficient. That anytime you want to move forward, you are able to do that without any problems. And there is a dashboard on everybody's account. You can be able to actually get the CPD program form. You remember there is a form that one is required to have at the end of the year. So you can be able to download your form at the end of on January 1st. It is duly filled for you, so there is no issue. Nitajaza nini hapa. All your CPD programs you undertook, the CPD points. The only thing you would be required to do is sign. But then the purpose for this was, the reason I've brought you here, I'm sharing, I wanted to show you the annual HR symposium. That will be course code number 114. So if you click on the course title, that is the course title, the document, a personalized invitation letter will open up, and you can actually print from inside your portal. You can print that personalized invite, whereby you will now enter your name, address, and address this letter to yourself. The letter is already signed. There is a nomination form there. There is your invoice. And then there is the course content for purposes of NITA reimbursement. Let me ask, for instance, for those who work in organizations that pay NITA levy, how are you going to recoup your contributions to NITA for this year? For last year, for this year or for last year. Reasons: you're supposed to get back your 200% worth of contributions, being payments of monies paid for you or your staff to attend trainings. So what I've done, I've organized the entire package you require to do your NITA application for reimbursement. And since we are a NITA registered trainer, that is that's the other aspect about us. So you will be required, so if you print this document and you fill in your NITA application form, no doubt they are going to consider and approve your participation to the 4th annual HR symposium. So you look at that, the program is also there, the list of trainers, the IHRM approval for that, for the annual HR symposium. It is approved for 6 points. 6 points. And it was approved on 17th September 2020. That is the letter I got from the Lake Naivasha Resort, from the this is from the Public Health Act, permitted to operate food business during the COVID-19 pandemic. So these are some of the compliant facilities that are there. And what I've also learned from them is that events are ongoing. Events are happening, and I know from where you stand, you are also aware that organizations are conducting the events without interruptions, especially in hotels that are certified to maintain high healthy standards. Our NITA registration for certificate is there, so that you are able to quote our name and our registration certificate. There are those organizations who require that we are tax compliant. So our tax compliance certificate is there. We usually ensure we pay taxes and we pay them on time, so that we also participate in building the nation. So the full requirement or the full document that you require for you to be able to apply and participate in the annual HR symposium is there. You click on the course title, you're able to get the rest. You're able to get the other details. Then finally, on how to maybe enroll for courses, the moment you log into your portal, it takes you to take courses. We've removed all those many menus that were there and tried to make this system as easy to use as possible. Like for example, if you've not enrolled on Blue Ocean Strategy Module 2, you just click on the select column that is the last column. You check the box there. You see, if I check the box, the amount payable indicates there. Fine, the amount payable shows 2,500. That is the actual cost for that module. But as you've known, we've given a discount. Each module will be 1,000. So hata ikijiandika 2,500, just ignore that, continue to pay 1,000 and enter the transaction code after you've gotten. So if you're paying via check, enter the check number there. If you've paid through PesaLink, there is a reference code. So that is what will be known as the transaction ID. Once you've done that, click enroll. And there you are, you would have enrolled for the training. Thank you. And now, Mire.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for this chance. And, first and foremost is to say thank you to God for making this event a success, whereby each one of us we are able to participate. We also thank the trainer so much for making us understand, because this Blue Ocean, not many people know about it. You've even heard from the participants. And so we are very, very grateful. We are able even to understand what we expected to do. And that is why we even look forward to the next two modules. We also thank you, Dan, for the initiative of coming up with this forum, something that you're able to learn, to interact. And for HRs, now we can see what is expected of us and who we are. For the participants, thank you so much, because if each one of us didn't pay for this, we would not even be here, we would not even be interacting. And therefore, I would say, let's stand out as HR, let's be confident, and I believe we will go places. So thank you so much, each one of us, and I wish you a lovely weekend and a blessed week ahead. Thank you, Dan. Dan, you are offline. We can't hear you. You can. Yes.
Yeah,
Please.
thank you. Let's wave kila mtu namna hiyo, then
Okay.
we meet on Saturday.
Yes, thank you.
And I know, Hortense, I'm going to give you a call after this. Felista.
You promised last week that you'd give me a call. You didn't do that, so I'm looking forward to it.
This has been a very tough week. I've been conducting ISO audits. I'm also an ISO auditor. And it has been a very, very, very tricky week for me. But I'm going to give you a call immediately after this.
We'll appreciate. Thank you and bye-bye.
Karibu, karibu. Agnes Gadoni, you have a nice afternoon. Felista, a nice afternoon.
Okay.
Thank you, Danny.
Karibu Felicita.
You too. Bye.
Asante sana.
Thank you, Hannah.